Awesome, awesome. Thank you very much. In my head, the traditional dancers have danced off stage and they have welcomed me with all the pomp and vigor. And I believe that's the energy we'll be carrying to this particular session. Good afternoon or good morning. I don't know if there's a place that is still in morning, or good evening, wherever you may be joining us from. Welcome back. We are picking up where we left off last Thursday. In case you are new, worry not, will help you get started. These things are not, they're not scary. Yeah, these things are nice. Let me proceed to share my screen, then we can immediately get started. But yes, please, the hellos. I want to see hellos in the chat just to ensure, yeah, the energy, the energy, the energy. Give the presenter some psych. You know, talking to yourself is difficult, huh? Very difficult. Right. My goodness. Try to find a way to share the screen. Let's bring the thing, let's bring the thing. I'm trying to share my screen and leave the screen. If that makes sense, fantastic. Hello, 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 hello. Yeah, I'm seeing you guys. Hello, hello, hello from Tanzania. Wow. Good to see you guys. I hope you're safe, genuinely. I hope you are doing well. Glad that you are back online. Yeah, Jirani, we missed you guys. Hellos. Yes, 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 yes. Fantastic. Love the energy. So we're going to get started. For this particular session, we'll be going through advanced Africa stocking APIs, an introduction to Google Generative AI. So it's going to be an introductory session. It's going to be very packed. So bear with us if we move a bit fast for some of these sessions. But again, rules remain the same. You can always ask at any point, raise a hand, unmute, type in the chat, and I'll get to it when I am still presenting at some point. And I am here with my co-trainer, Douglas Mwangi Dagi over there. He's saying hi, saying hi, saying hi. Yes, there he is. Yes, so we'll be taking you through this session together. That being said, let us get started. Yes, Google. No. Can I make it full screen without? Anyway, we'll just have to work with it as is. So this is what we have covered so far. In case this is your first time here, we've covered in modules 1, 2, 3. This is module 4 in a series of many modules that is a collaboration between Africa Stocking and Google Cloud, where we're taking it through a series where we use Google Cloud, Google Generative AIs, and Africa Stocking APIs to implement 2G and AI solutions together. So we're taking you through the process of setting up, what the different APIs entail, how to integrate to the cloud, how to build particular applications, and it all culminates in a capstone project that, yeah, will integrate everything we've learned so far. So that's what we're doing here in case you are wondering. What we have done so far is you've been able to set up your account with Google Developer Profile. You've built a web app with Firebase. You've understood what APIs are and what REST API fundamentals, API authentication with Collab. We've done SMS and airtime for the Africa's Talking APIs. AT means Africa's Talking in case you see it on the slides and it's not clear. And you've seen how to read and secure API responses. So now we're going a bit deeper with this today. We're going to find first our setup links and resources, where I want to mention a few things on that, and then we'll get started picking up right from Airtime API. I hope so far that's good. Allow me to touch on a few things. I will first share a link in the chat. Again, guys, bear with me when I go out of slideshow. I don't know why today it doesn't want to show slideshow when I am in the call. But I have sent a link in the chat, particularly to a link tree, and I will proceed to share this screen just so that I can explain. Oh, that's how that works. Fantastic. So that I can explain what this particular link tree entails. This link is important because it has most, if not all, because they continue to be added, of the links that you need for this particular program. So we're starting with just the plain registration link. Registration link. If you haven't registered, this is your queue. Just fill that up and then you'll be able to access it. Create your Google developer profile, which I've spoken about, we've already covered. Google Cloud credits Yes, for those who are having challenges with the Google Cloud credits, if you're no longer able to access them, these were links so that you can get credits to run some of these workshops. We are following up on that. So apologies, that is on our part, but we'll be following up on credits. In the meantime, for Africa's Talking APIs, you can always use Sandbox that is free. For Google Cloud, try and look for models that run without billing, right? That run for free, just as we wait, but we'll get it sorted as soon as possible. And then we have a link here on where you can create your account for Africa's Talking. There is the Google Program Resources Request Form. Allow me to get back to this resources request form in a few. And then there's the badge submission. If you have covered any module, if you've done any module successfully on the Google Cloud and Skills Boost platforms, you will receive a virtual badge or a link to a badge. This form, you should fill in the modules you've completed here. Yes, you'll be eligible for maybe something nice. Yes, so we want to see how many people are completing the modules, might get something very nice. So ensure you do this one. This one has been highly forgotten because people are quickly completing the modules but forgetting to submit when they're done. So you just submit your link, the module that you completed. This is the Slack channel. Welcome to join our Slack channel where you can ask questions, engage with us, follow up on certain things. This was the third module that we did last time, the link to that particular notebook so that you can run it on your own and go through the steps. This is the module we're doing today, an advanced APIs and introduction to Gemini API notebook. So this is what we'll be covering today, again, for you to be able to go through on your own. And this is a future module. See, we're even helping you get ready, get ready, get ready. But this is a future module that we'll be covering that will have building, securing, and deploying Africa's Talking APIs. So back to this resources request form. This particular link is when you're accessing Africa's Talking APIs, you need to have some of them activated on the back end for you because it doesn't come automatically done. And some of you have been sending in requests again, slightly late, there's just some slight delay, but we're sorting it and we'll be able to send it. However, on Sandbox, everything works, which is why I would like to share this particular aspect to show you that you can access on your Sandbox, on your account. If you've created your Africa's Talking account, let me go back. Let me go back. Yes, thank you. Thank you, MK, for responding in the chat as I proceed so that I can share this one. Allow me to just share this again. That is very interesting. I may have to, for a minute, I may have to share my entire screen. Oh, wow. Okay. Entire screen just to show this one point. Apologies for the, for the endless mirror. This one, I make a mistake. All right. So this is what I was saying. If you're using Sandbox for resources, everything you need, you can access. So if you're using Sandbox and you need to send an SMS, you create your own shortcode here. So you create a shortcode, give it a random sequence of numbers, and you submit it. And you submit it, or I already have two shortcodes. But when you successfully create it, you go to my shortcodes and you'll have it. You can use this already for testing. Like, this is fine. On Sandbox, you can always create your own. You can create them and then you view them and then you use them whenever you're using any of the resources. That request form is if you want to use things live, which is, let me click on this live app. If you need to use this particular site and you want to test your APIs live, for example, if it's SMS, that's where you request on that form. And then once it is approved, you will see it here, right? Just putting this out there because I'm seeing some requests coming in for Sandbox, and Sandbox, you should be able to do it on your own. For live, you request, and once we're done processing, it will appear here on your sender ID section. Same goes for voice. If you request for a voice number, it will appear in your phone numbers, right? If you request for a USSD service code, it will appear in your service codes. Yes, so that's just the basic idea, or yeah, just wanted to get that across before we get started. Finally stop sharing my whole screen. Mistakes usually happen when the entire screen is shared, and these things are tricky. All right. All right. Are we together so far? This was just a quick recap to cover what we've done and to address some of the things that were visible there. In case you miss any of the links, always the same blab where you join in for this particular call is where you get to see the links for all the modules as well, right? So those are just the important things for us to get started. So I will immediately just get to it because I know I'm a bit behind on time, and this is going to be a very long module. Like I said, brace yourself. Let us proceed. Fantastic. So what exactly will we be covering today? One, we'll see how to integrate multiple AT APIs in one workflow, handle asynchronous webhooks, secure airtime top-ups, combine the AT APIs with Google Generative AI, because these are questions that came up last time. How is this relevant? We're going to now see an example or a use case, or just to get thinking about how to combine the two. And that will in turn lead to building AI-powered 2G bots. The learning areas will be messaging and airtime, covered messaging. So we'll go into airtime directly is where we start, then SIM swap and voice API, webhooks and callbacks, multi-API workflows, and AI enhanced workflows so that you can be able to build that integration correctly and successfully. All right. Fantastic. We'll get started. This is the tech stacks that will be there, just building off of what has already been covered. And I'll be moving between the slides and the notebook. Yeah, so I'll be going back and forth on the two just to really reinforce the points and to actually do the hands-on demos of what we're covering. So we get started immediately with Airtime API. In case you missed it, we did SMS API last time, where you're able to send an SMS. It's an API, you pull it, you're able to send a request that has the number, the message, and the sender ID, and it sends to that particular number or multiple numbers. Airtime API works in a similar way, where you're able to disburse airtime. And the main use cases for this are usually customer rewards, to confirm transactions, emergency top-ups for service recovery, anything along those lines. So if you're building an application, you always think about how you can automatically have airtime disbursed to one number, multiple numbers on successful logging. You can gamify experiences. It's a game. It can be used as a token or as a reward. So the hands-on session, you're going to be sending airtime to different recipients. This will be for you to try, but let's get to the notebook and actually see a use case of how this works. All right. I hope, yes, we are all seeing my disconnected runtime. I am back here. How many shortcodes are allowed per account for SMS? For Sandbox, you have a limit. So as you saw in the Sandbox, it does have a limit. For the live, I don't remember what the limit was, but why would you need, at this particular instance, you don't really need too many. So I will map one. The one that I am mapping to your live account is one. Just a disclaimer as well for the, and it will not be a shortcode, it will be a sender ID. There's a difference. Shortcodes are numeric, sender IDs have letters. Shortcodes have two-way functionality. So the numeric value can send and receive, but sender IDs are one way. So it's for OTPs, it's the one-way transaction. The recipient cannot respond to it. So I'll be mapping one sender ID to your account, and it's a default sender ID. Do not use it for any business-like, let me call it business-like. Yeah, it's just for messages for testing purposes. If you use it for other purposes other than testing, your account will be flagged. Yes, we have your username, those things are seen. So let's just be decent, civil, amazing developers as we are. But yeah, when it's mapped, you can be able to use it for any of those tests for the SMS API. Hope we're good. Let's go back to my disconnected runtime. Awesome. If we're together, you can, just some energy. Like I said, the speaker likes energy that is reciprocated. It is difficult to talk alone. but let us proceed. Reconnect. So I will do an overview. This notebook will be available for you. You'll be able to go through all the details carefully, line by line. I'll be going through and explaining right, and then now running the cell so that you can be able to understand. In case you're new to notebooks, this is just a Google Collaboratory notebook, sort of an environment where you can just run code. And in this case, we have a mixture of code and text so that you can explain what's happening. You can understand what's happening. So it's an overview of what we learned in module 1 and what we'll be doing in this particular module, like I've shown in the slides, technologies that are covered, different applications, and what you expected to do by the end of this session. Estimated duration, if you go by detail, if it's your first time, could be 3 to 5. Not everyone follows the normal distribution. Some people are above, some people are below, but no worries. This is just an overview to get you mentally prepared. Yeah, it also has a GitHub link, so you can access it as a code repository instead. All right, fantastic. Before we get started, good practice is to do pre-module checkups. So first, you just confirm what operating system we're working on, and then just confirm the dependencies that have been installed. This is important because at times you'll get errors for the front. Where I'm from, we say they're ahead. Yeah, they're ahead is the English. I was looking for the English. You might later is better English. You might get errors later, and it could just tie to the version of the OS that you're running or the dependencies that you have, the version that exists. So it's important to just always confirm and check first. So you can just first run to confirm what you have. This is, again, good practice. For this particular list, I just filtered out the Google packages just to make it easier to absorb, because as you can see, there are quite a number, but this is just to help you understand and know what you have in store, right? So just hide this to make it easier for me to move through the cell. And then this is a fun one. We just added a cell to display YouTube videos so that in case we want to embed any in this particular notebook, in the long run, we ended up not having any embedded, but we could still fine-tune it and add a YouTube video somewhere in between, right? So that one has been done successfully. Now we're ready to go into the airtime deep dive. So why airtime API? That's been covered in the slides, right? Gamification, rewards, anything that pertains that is very important. So that's what we're covering with airtime API. Similar, picking up from where we left off last time, we install the Africa Stocking SDK. When you're running any of this, always have your documentation on another tab or somewhere so that you know the exact how exactly you can install SDKs, what is important, that is covered there. And then we initialize it. Let's do a quick recap. We had secrets. We talked about this in the previous module. So good practice is not just putting your username and API key out in the public for everyone to see. So we're going to use secrets. So we import the user data, we get the username and the API key, and then we're able to initialize that. Fantastic. Now, when that runs successfully, we can send the airtime itself. So similar to SMS, where it was the phone number, the message, and the sender ID that was required. For airtime, it's the number, currency code, and the amount. So you are able to send it to a number with multiple numbers, ensure the currency code is there, and the amount. Always refer to the documentation, because you'll realize differences like that naming and this naming are different. The documentation, you need to map it to this, right? Yeah, so when you run that, yeah, this one has sent its on a simulator. It's on a simulated phone, so this is on Sandbox. Yeah, it's 5 shillings and there's a discount. When you send airtime with Africa's Talking, there's always a small amount for discount. Let me run the simulator on the side so that you can be able to see that successfully be sent. It's good to see what we are doing. All right, let's try running that again. Yes, so if you run the send airtime, oh yeah, a duplicate request received within the last 5 minutes. Like we said in the last call, Africa's Talking cares about you. Yes, yes, and that's why we don't allow you to make a mistake and lose your money. No, we're able to stop that from happening. So when you do duplicate requests for airtime within the span of 5 minutes, it won't go. Yeah, it will be held for a minute. But this is the gist. My simulated phone was not on, so it didn't go. But we'll come back and do this send airtime. You can remind me in the chat. The index ones in the class can always remind me in the chat as we proceed. But that is the overview of sending airtime. And that's why the challenge was to try 3 different recipients and try different currencies, put another currency code, and then now be able to understand the response you get, what's the status, what was the cost, what do you notice with different currency codes, you'll be able to see the different discounts that apply. So that's also something good. That's also something that you can discover here and there. If you're creating an application, this is where you tap into your entrepreneurial mindset and you see that in this country I get bigger discounts, in this ones I get less. So this is a gap. In this country, I can sell them airtime at a lower price. I'm just saying, there are ideas here and there. Everyone has them. So yeah, don't quote me. But again, that's just the concept behind it, and that's how airtime runs. I think that being said, we can move on to SimSwap. Any questions on airtime before I hand over to presenter two? We're doing a tag team thing today. Tag team, tag to the other trainer, tag another trainer. We're good so far. Airtime is understandable. This one also needs to be activated if you want to do it live. If you do it on Sandbox, it will just go the way I've demonstrated, and it will send, and you'll receive a message on your simulated phone, but there's no actual airtime. When you do it live, it will send actual airtime to that particular number that you're sending to. So that one needs money and needs to be activated. Same link in the link tree, just fill in your username and your resource that you want activated, that is airtime, and then we'll respond when we activate them. If that is it, handing over to Dagi to continue from SimSwap.
Yes, thank you so much, Sylvia. Let me share my screen. Perfect. Yes, so now we've covered on airtime, and the next bit of it would be about SimSwap API. And before we go on, by a quick show of hands, how many people have heard about SIM card swaps, scams? Nice. So SIM card swap is whereby let me call them attackers. Attackers will say they want to take over your digital life, so they figure out your number, then they figure out how to convince the service provider that they are you, and after that they get to own your number and use it to receive orders that were originally meant for you. So in this segment, the first question maybe I'll ask in whose hands are you safe? So because if you say for you say for example your app doesn't have a way to detect when a SIM card has been swapped, then that will be vulnerable. So yes. So the goal here is usually to say take over your bank accounts, take over maybe your social media accounts, and even go extra steps and do some identity theft. So in this section, I'll show you how to implement Africa's Talking Insights API, or popularly known as SimSwap API. to protect your user accounts. Yes. So on one end, gives your web application. So this one could be, say, like your Next.js app, or maybe your Express app or Flask app. In the middle is the Africa Stocking API cloud, and on the other end is the telco service provider, say, for example, Safaricom. So the first leg is, say, for example, you have, let's think of a scenario. Say, for example, your app is a microfinance app, yeah, and a user wants to withdraw or take huge sums of a loan, yeah. So before you issue out the loan, and say the money is going to be sent to the user's phone number. So before you issue out that loan, you first check whether the phone number that's linked to that account has been recently swapped. So if it's not swapped, you proceed with the request. If it's swapped, you now request for additional KYC just to be safe. So this is the first leg. Then the second leg is where now, after you've sent the request to Africa Stocking API, Africa Stocking bundles it and sends it to the telco. So these first two legs, you're going to do them mostly down using our SDK, say our Node or Python SDK. And then what you get from doing this is a transaction ID. And that transaction ID is the one that you're going to compare against when the telco responds. So this response will typically happen through callback, which we will cover in the slides below. So let me quickly switch to the yeah, to this one. Yeah. Oh, refresh. Perfect. So this section again assumes that you're using Python, Flask to be specific, but it's also applicable using different languages and frameworks or libraries. So the first step is to, oh, I think there's an echo. Just a minute. Okay, good. So the first step is to import the user. Just a minute. Let me fix something. Okay. Let's see what's going. Coffee tea. Nice. Yeah, perfect. So this step involves importing the environment variables, which in our case we've stored them in the collab secrets, and this is the username and the API key. Yeah. In the previous module, we covered how to generate these two from the AT dashboard. The next step is initializing Africa Stocking SDK. By the way, I've already imported up here. The next step is initialize not the inside service itself. So let me just run it, and we should be good. Okay, it's taking a while. The next step now it's invoking the Insights API itself, the SIM swap, and when you're using Python SDK, you use the check SIM swap state method, and you pass in a number. Yeah. So, oops, I think I skipped just a minute. Yeah. So now, for example, in my case, I'm using this my phone number. So when I pass it in and run, I'm going to get a response that says whether my SIM card has been swapped recently. You know what? Before we continue, let me just run everything up here because I think it's skipped. Yeah. Actually, let me just start from the top. Yeah. Maybe as it runs, I'll explain what here. Um, Here we are checking the state of our environment, that is the OS that we are on and what packages we have installed. In this case, maybe here it would have been Africa Stocking. Yeah. The other one is installing the AT SDK and initializing it. This was the example that Sylvia shared for airtime. So I'll skip the airtime bit and come back to SimSwap. Yeah, it's taking long. I don't know why. Okay, let me just use what I have offline. Yes. So here you pass in the phone number. There's a part that deals with the SDK itself. You pass in the phone number, and the response you get looks like this. Oh, no, not this. Just a minute. Yay, okay. I don't know why it's taking that long. Oh, okay. I see why it's failing. Okay, let me restart everything. Ah, nice. Oh, everything is moving. Ah, nice, nice, nice. Yes. So now here we feed in your phone number and pass it to the check SimSwap state method. You get a response that looks like this. Yeah. So basically, it gives you the carrier name, which is Safaricom, or rather your telco, and then it also gives you a request ID and transaction ID. So this is what you're going to use when you finally receive the webhook. Now, before we continue to who know the concept of webhooks and callbacks, I'd like to give a small lab challenge where you call the SIM card swap API, the insights API that you have, and before you top up airtime on it, you check whether the SIM card has been swapped within the last 7 days, and if it has been swapped, you don't send airtime. Instead, you block the transaction and audit it later. And if it has not been swapped, you continue with the sending of airtime. And I have a code sample for it, where maybe we can get a hit from. Let me share the link. I am pasting it. Yes. Yeah, so that's the link to it. But in this example, we've used Node instead of Flask. Oh, Churchill is asking what's going on right now. Yeah, so yes, good. Sylvia's answered you. Thanks. So this that lab challenge, but in Node.js, done in Node.js. So it's a simple logic here, where we have an endpoint that receives phone number and amount, and then it invokes the SIM swap check. Yeah, it invokes the SIM swap check. In Python, we would have used this check underscore SIM underscore state. But in Node, we're using this. Yeah. Still the same name, just a different way to call it. And then after doing that, it extracts the request ID and saves it in memory or our virtual, not our virtual, it's like our makeshift database. And then when Africa Stocking checks that number, it hits another endpoint, which basically checks whether the SIM card has been swapped within 3 months. Our lab challenge was for 7 days. Here we're checking 3 months, and compares against that request ID. And if it's good, it leads with the airtime top up. If it has been swapped recently, we just failed top up and log it. Yeah. Now I love to see you implement this in in its Python version, and you can share what you've done on the Slack channel, and we'll have a look. We can even discuss on it offline. Yeah. That said, this other step now is for webhooks and callbacks. And let me share again. Yes. So the title of it is from polling to webhooks. And first of all, before you continue, you should know the difference between polling and webhooks. Polling is where you repeatedly ask for updates from a server, and webhooks is where it's more of an event-driven form of updates, where now the server hits you. Yeah, you assuming you're the client. Yeah, or a different server. And webhooks have real-time communication, since you don't have to use your server resources to check for updates. Instead, the updates get sent to you when they are ready. An example and then on the other hand, we have webhooks and callbacks. And an example of that is the SMS delivery results, which is more of a webhook, and the callback example is of the airtime transaction results. We covered SMS in the previous module, but we might touch it down here in this segment. So the problem with things like polling is that if the server doesn't have new updates, you've basically wasted your bandwidth, yeah, for nothing. And also there's this aspect of latency where you as a client only find out after the next poll, not when the event actually happens. So if say your how do I put this? Because in polling you have to have like a time interval, say like 1 second, 5 second. So say if you have a higher time interval, that means you're going to get, say, a high interval like 10 seconds. It means you're going to get the update after 10 seconds, not ASAP when it happens. And now when you decide to lower that time, now you get into now the second part of the problem, which is inefficiency and wasted bandwidth when there's no update. Compare that to webhooks and callbacks, where server or the service provider is going to hit you, the listener or the client, when an event occurs. So instead of you asking, the service tells you. Yeah. So typically in this setup, you're going to register a static URL, and I'll show you real quick how to do that. So I'll go to the Africa Stocking dashboard. I'll share the link down here. Yes. So you go to the Africa Stocking dashboard. This assumes that you already have an account, as we guided in the previous module 3. So it assumes you already have an account and you've signed in and you have a team and an app. Yeah. So in this case, these are my teams, these are my apps. But for this example, I'll use the Sandbox app. So you then go to a product, say for example, let me go like insights, then click on callback URLs, then click on status. Here's where now you set up that webhook callback URL. Yeah. Yes. Let me check. So in my case, I already have a local server running. And because you're required to expose it to the internet, you can use something like ngrok or Cloudflare. Let me show you how I did it. Yeah. So in the example, we'll probably have used ngrok, HTTP, then maybe the port that I have. Since my local ngrok has an issue, I'll just use Cloudflare, which does the job pretty better.
Sorry, Dagi. Just a request from the chat. If you could zoom in a little bit. The font is, yeah. If that's okay, Jean de Dieu.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Jane. Let me zoom it. Can see it better now. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Perfect. So on the left, I have the local server running. On the right, I have the reverse tunnel. Yeah. So ideally, this one would have been ngrok, or maybe something like local. Is it called local tunnel? Yeah. Just that in my case, I'm using Cloudflare. Yeah. So yeah, what's actually this one? Let me share the link so you can be able to set it up for yourself also. Yeah. All it requires, but is just a domain, and yeah, you're good to go. Let me switch to the module itself. Yeah. So now, since now I have my local server exposed, and just now go to the Africa Stocking dashboard and input it, which is this one, sandbox.blanks.com. And then I add the last part of that URL, which in my case is API /simsop slash status. Yeah. And I did the source code for this local server is this one. And here it is. Yeah, you can see how I've set it up locally. I see Odori asking, is Cloudflare free? Yes, Cloudflare is free. Or at least this service. All you need is a domain and you're good to go. I'll share more details about how to set up in the Slack channel. I'll paste a small setup. And actually, mate, it's actually better if I showed you how it looks like. How that should script looks like. Yeah, so this is the script I'm using. Yeah, but I'll share the actual steps to how I arrived to creating this so that you can do it yourself. Yeah, so the endpoint here is /API /simsop /status, which is basically this, where is it, simsop, yeah, which is basically this. So whenever I finish the first leg of the first two legs of the Simsop API, the next two legs are basically this logic. Where is it? Are basically this logic where I'm receiving the status. Yeah. And then after receiving it, I'm just printing it out. Let me show you. Actually, let me just invoke it right now. I have another endpoint where all I'm doing is sending it a phone number. Oh, let me put my phone on silent. So what I want to do is invoke this endpoint. So I'm invoking it to the phone number, and then yeah, my subdomain has been misused. No wonder you're getting this red thing. Yeah, it happens. So I'm getting an error at the moment, and it's because of my envis. Let me modify them. Yeah, that's good. Good. Yeah, yeah. So now I'm invoking the SimSwap API, and again, you see I can get the request ID and the transaction ID. Both of them are important to the next part. But in my case, what I'm specifically interested in most is the request ID. That's what I used in this code. Now when I invoke it, we are going to wait for a callback, and actually we've already gotten it here. Don't know if you can see my screen. Okay. Yeah, I'd suspected that my screen wasn't sharing, but I hate good. So yeah, so this is the second leg. Basically, reports back the status of the API call. Back to this. So now back to callbacks and webhooks. A good strategy to have to set up your webhooks is that they should always respond fast. Keep them under 500 milliseconds, and always return at 200 when everything is good, and non 200 when something is broken. Yeah. And the reason for when everything is good is that most service provider will auto retry your callback or webhook. They'll auto retry. So if you set them wrong, again, you're going to waste a lot of your server resources. Yeah. Another best practice: don't block your handlers with heavy logic. So this inside the webhook is not the place where you send emails, update your B. No, this isn't the place to do that. Uh, Ideally, what you should do is once you receive the request, you put it in a queue and then respond with the 200. You know, yeah. So yeah, and also process asynchronously. The next part is about security, authentication, and integrity. Since the endpoints are public, security is important. And I think I can hear Churchill. Kindly mute your mic. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So because the endpoints are public, security is not an option. It's something that you should face head on. There are different ways to do that. The first one is signature verification using HMAC. Should also prevent replay attacks and do some IP whitelisting. So HMAC signature verification is where you sign, where the provider signs a request, and then the listener checks out for the signature in the header and calculates the payload. And if there's a mismatch, they reject that request. Examples of providers that use signature verification is not Paystack, Flutterwave, and Stripe. Yeah. The other way to secure your endpoints is preventing replay attacks. This is where the provider attaches a timestamp to the signed payload, and then your server is going to check that payload and reject and determine a safe window to process the request. So it could be something like 5 minutes. So every other request that comes after 5 minutes, you just assume it's an attacker trying to replay, and you reject it. Other ways, IP whitelisting. Some providers will give you an IP range for their webhook servers, and then now you can configure your firewall to only accept requests from those ranges. We at Africa Stocking, we have a bit of this IP whitelisting when it comes to voice when you're using our SIP service. Yeah. To more do it in reverse, where we actually take your IP. Yeah. Good. Something else is about now reliability and idempotency, where webhook providers will operate with at least once delivery model. This means that your app will receive that your app will be able to basically receive unique requests. Yeah, even if it's on so this is why it's important up here to acknowledge the 200 status codes. Yeah, and when things are good, because if you again You don't reply the 200, the server will try to do it again. Now, idempotency is where each event has a unique ID. And we use that a lot at Africa Stocking, especially on the airtime API, yeah, where, but now this one we do it in the opposite way, where when you say sending airtime, you attach an idempotency key. Basically, you're saying this request is unique, even if I hit your endpoint 10 times. Yeah, if I hit it 10 times, just process it once. Yeah, so yeah, this is pretty much it. I'll quickly jump into the tools, testing and debugging. So what are some ways that you can inspect and test your webhooks? A good way, one of the ways is to use services like RequestBin and webhook.site to capture a request. So an example of this is, say, if I didn't have my local server ready, what I would have done is go to webhook.site. Oh, you can see my URL, but let me share my screen properly. Just a minute. Screen to, yeah, you can see everything now. So I'll go to our website like a service like webhook.site. And basically I'll get a unique URL. And then now I'll use this URL to process, to observe what's happening. So for example, let me use, what service will I use? Let me, for example, use the IT one, the airtime one. Yeah. Then now I can invoke an airtime call. Let me do it on this website. Yeah. So let me see. Let me see. Oh, it's not good. Okay, let me fuse first. Yeah, it's good now. Soundbox. Yeah, so I invoked an airtime send and want request here. We need to respond. Taking too long. Okay, when it I'll share it. One of the sites that you can use is webhook website. There's RequestBin. They allow you to inspect your webhook services without even writing a line of code. So basically, you can observe the payload structure, the header, and things like that. Yeah. So something else is simulating scenarios for here you can use things like Postman, Step CLI, or something equivalent. And basically, it's akin to like what I've done that I'm hitting Africa Stocking endpoints. So here I'm using the Postman. Yes, so that's pretty much it. Let me jump real quick into Africa's talking web frameworks. The first one that we've done here is for Insights API and seen for airtime how to do it. Come here and do for every other products SMS. So again, you go to the Africa's talking dashboard, go to your team or app, then app, or your own sandbox. You can just go directly into sandbox, and then select a product. Then under each product, you'll see this menu callback URLs. And in SMS, we have four types of callback URL. The first one is a delivery reports callback. We are basically, if you send an SMS, you get the delivery reports status. Yeah. The second one is for inbox, incoming messages. So a situation for this is two-way SMS. Yeah. Say you sent an SMS to your, actually a better use case. Say for example, it's a customer service SMS where you maybe send something to your customers and then you respond back. Yeah, so you're able to capture those messages in the inbox callback. Yeah, and actually a proof of this, we are going to launch our simulator. If you're not aware, we have a virtual or a simulated phone still on the AT dashboard. So it's another launch simulate button. I'm going to enter my phone number. And I'm in. And then, so for you to use this, you need to have your, and let me zoom. And your server needs to accept SMSs. Yeah. So first, before that, let me call this invoke to SMS. Again, don't mind this big security warning. Yeah, my endpoint has been abused. As you can see, let me confirm that I'm using it the correct way. API, API SMS. Yeah, so I put my phone number and this is good afternoon, Nairobi. Yeah, so now through this endpoint, I'm basically invoking to SMS. And in this virtual phone, I get this simulated phone, I get the SMS here. Oh, wait, there's something that's wrong with my code. Let me fix it right now as you. Shortcodes. Oh, okay. I know why this is happening. Shortcode. 19 album. Yeah. So what was missing is the shortcode. That's why this message came in as more of a bulk SMS instead of a two-way SMS. So I'm going to repeat that process and maybe here change from Nairobi to Dar es Salaam. message. Oh, I need to restart my server. Yeah. Okay. Let's do this once more. Okay, yes, finally. Yeah. So this one was a bulk SMS. This one is two-way. Yeah. And how you can tell is that for bulk, you don't have a place to respond. Yeah. But for two-way, you have a place to respond. So now I can say, let me go for run fine. Yeah. And sending message invokes the two-way callback, basically the one that I had set here. Yeah. And auto response. So let me go to the actual part that's happening here. Again, this code is the link to this code has been shared to. I have shared the code here, and it's also part of the resources that are shared. So here I'm receiving these values, which is link ID, text, to ID, date, and from. And then I'm basically responding to it by saying these are response to the message that was sent. And that's why in this example here, it's saying these are response to Ecopo. Yeah, basically, it's an automation. So now if you're using AI here, instead of doing this statically, yeah, you can just feed it direct into Gemini, yeah, or Gemini or some other AI. Sylvia will show us that in a bit. Yeah. So back to yeah. So that's how you do two-way SMS. The other one is the delivery reports. Delivery reports, basically, we've seen, we've actually invoked that when we did bulk SMS. But let's do it again for the bulks. So again, I'm going to trigger, but this time I'm going to do bulk. So okay, let me check the actual endpoint. So it's SMS. Oh, invoke bulk. Yeah. Yeah, so I've invoked a bulk SMS, and when that message gets delivered, basically when I see it here, we are going to get report here. It's taking too long though. Yeah, but it's going to come back here. That reminds me we have something that we are waiting for. Okay, let me look once more. Okay, the Jafika. Yeah. When you're building on Sandbox, you might encounter issues like this. All I can tell you is that don't worry. Once the cache clears, once the cache clears on the AT side, you're going to see you're going to see your callbacks working. Yeah, it should take some time. Yeah, so that was for two-way and bulk. The other one is for airtime. We've already covered. It's actually the one that we are waiting for here. The other one for SimSwap. SimSwap, we covered a bit of that, but it doesn't hurt to show it again. So again, in your AT dashboard and the products, you're going to see the insight, and then under it, callback URLs, click on status, and yeah. So Yeah, so I'm still using the same pattern here. Same soap. I'm doing this right. Just check from the code the exact, yes, soap. Yeah, basically we've invoked this one, and then we are going to see that our delivery report is already back. Yeah. But it's saying failure. Interesting. To why it's saying that, yeah. Normally shouldn't say that since the message has already been delivered. Yeah, so when I invoked the airtime endpoint, it sends, and then it sends a notification by SMS. And that tells me, okay, it's still taking long to hit this. Maybe the cache isn't cleared yet. Yeah, so the callback for two-way, let me go to, no, sorry, the callback for SimSwap. This site looks, again, you get the status, the last SimSwap date, provider, request ID, and transaction ID. Transaction ID is, you can either use transaction ID or request ID to have an error on this other side. Yeah, you can either use request ID or transaction ID to refer to a request that you made earlier. Yeah, basically the way that you had invoked it. The other part is USSD. This one, I'll just show you where to set, but the details of USSD, we are going to cover it in the next module with our engineer, our genius engineer, Ian. So for USSD, you just come again to the USSD products, click on service codes, then under your USSD, you're going to set up the callback. For voice, show you where to set it. In Sandbox, we don't have the voice itself. We have it in live, yeah. So go under your team, on the IT dashboard, go under your team, select your app, then go to the product, and then for numbers, yeah. And under here, now you can select one number, a specific number, and then to the actions, come and update it, yeah. So in my scenario, actually, it's good that we're on this screen. So voice supports, or did I do a brief overview of the WhatsApp API? Okay, we look at the chat service, we will briefly. But we are also going to get into deep in a different module. So under voice, when you're setting callbacks, you can decide either to set them as a URL or as a trunk service. Yeah, trunk is useful when you're using additional. When you're using say on free switch, asterisk, or live kit. So in this example here, I'm basically using live kit. Yeah. This address you're seeing is the IP of the VM. Yeah. The way to update it, you just click on these three dots, callback, update. Yeah. And voice has two callback. Voice has two callback URLs. Okay, the first one we're calling it callback, the second one we're calling it events URL. Yeah. So this is where you get like the logs of what has happened during the call, say how many minutes spent, how much airtime you spent, what else, the destination, things like that. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much about it on the different 80 products on webhooks. Yeah, and I've shown you how to set it, and I've mentioned how you make your server publicly available using a Ngirock, but in my case, I'm using Flask. No, in my case, I'm using Cloudflare. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe someone would ask, what is reverse proxy tunneling and how does it work? Basically, how will I explain this in the simplest terms possible? First, you have to understand why we need it. And the reason number one is that your computer isn't publicly accessible from the internet. Yeah, your Flask app or your Express app or your Next.js app isn't publicly available to the public internet. You have to expose it. Yeah, and this is where services like Ngiro come into play. Yeah, so let me first install Flask and Pangrock. Then the next step is about getting the token. I already have mine, yeah, and I would already saved it here. Oh, it's actually not it. So let me just show you how to save it. It requires me to sign in. Yeah, yep. And if I was doing this locally, I would have done pre-install Ngirock. Or maybe if I was on a different OS, maybe Windows, that way. You install the Microsoft installer. If you're on Linux, here are the steps. But now, since we're using Collab, ignore that. And instead, you can use this service. But the most important part is this auth token. Yeah. So come here, copy it, and come in. Oh, we actually had that variable here. I hadn't seen it. So let me just replace the value. 6 UN, 6 UN. It's the same. Yeah. So again, you import that token and set it. Yeah. Again, if you in say Windows, we would have, or maybe Mac, we would have done Ngirock config adult token and then the token. So the equivalent of doing that is this. Next, I'll import the ability to run Flask in a separate thread and the ability to create a tunnel. Next, this basic Flask code. And oh, it's 4:30. Interesting. Let me be quick. Yeah. So the next step is starting the server. Yeah. And then here down here, you're going to see we've gotten an Ngirock URL that you can access. So now our environment is, our server is publicly available. Yeah. Let me paste it real quick here. Yeah. Yeah. If your setup was correct, again, check the resources link for this entire notebook and repeat the steps. If your setup was correct, you're going to see things like this. You're going to see something like this. Yeah. And even your data routes, things like that. Yeah. Basically, this part is exactly what I've shown you there, but in video form of how to set callback URLs. And so we're going to skip that part. Skip. And the lab challenge here is that you do the same. you basically create a webhook that listens for inbound SMS, and something different, store those messages in either Google Sheets or Firestore. And if you have a problem, or if you encounter a problem with this, feel free to share that problem on the Slack channels, and we will all come together and help you out. Yeah, plus the community of developers. So now, quickly, let's jump into Voice API, and here I'll touch on call actions. So something you should know about voice. Let me go to that slide. Something you should know about voice is how the entire flow goes. On one end, you have the, say, like your phone, like your mobile phone. In the middle, you have the T cloud, API cloud, and the other end, you have your app. Yeah. Um, in this part is also the telco lives. Yeah. So a customer, say someone with their phone will call you, and that call will pass through the AT cloud and the telco, and then you're going to get both the events, that is using the events URL. I'm not sure if I've shown, yeah, using the events URL, callback URL to your webhook, to your application, say whether it's your Next app, your Flask app, your Express app, name it. And then now you're supposed to respond with an XML for the callback URL, and then AT cloud will translate that and deliver it to the person who's calling you. Now, in the reverse happens now when you initiate your call either from your web application to the customer. Now the reverse happens. So how does this XML look like? We can see that through the AT documentation. Let me just paste the URL quickly. And the voice and actions. Yeah. So how that XML looks like is something like this. It needs to be first XML, and then the action itself, which is in this case is a C. The other actions like play, get digits, dial, record. Yes, you can record calls. Call queue, which is NQ. The actual command is NQ. You can redirect to another logic. You can even reject from the server and things like that. Yeah. Issue. In the say command, you can take advantage of the say command to do a text to speech. You know, this part you can involve AI. You can even do the same with audio, but now more of the reverse now. Yeah. Get digits is where you collect inputs. If you've built something like Safaricom 100, or maybe your bank's customer care, there's this part they tell you press 1 to do this, press 2 to do this. You handle that using get digits. Yeah. Records, basically recording the call itself. So what goes into callback URL for voice? You first must respond with the XML, and it needs to be valid. That's why here we have this XML tag. Let me do it in full screen. Yeah, needs to be valid XML. Second, it needs definitely ports. It should be a post. Yeah, we covered about the basics of APIs and the what do you call this? The HTTP methods. Yeah. So it needs to be post and it needs to be valid XML. And now, of course, inside is the commands themselves. Yeah, so on this part, it's more of a hands-on, something that I'd hope you do. Build a simple IVR menu, and then add the ability to record, call, and then also do a bulk dialing. Yeah, and let me do an example of voice. A simple one, a very basic one. Let me first update the credentials. I'm just making sure that I have the endpoint set correctly. So I'm using instruct as my colloquial. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, so now I can go ahead and revoke the call. Commented something. Oh. Yeah, we're good, we're good, we're good. So what I'm basically doing is interesting API voice. I think there's something that I've missed here. Voice. Okay. I think I have a typo. Dash call. Am I doing this wrong? Yeah. I think I've missed something, or I missed this code because I don't know why this endpoint is not invoking. Oh, finally, yeah. I honestly don't know what was the issue there. So basically what's happening is that I've invoked a call, which you can see here. Okay. Let me do it. Just yeah. So basically what I'm doing here is basically calling this number, and then it should appear here, and then I pick it.
Service. This is a demo voice application. Goodbye.
So after I invoke the call, the next part of it is responding to the call, and I respond that with this exact XML. Let me show you. This one. Welcome to the service. This is a demo application. Yeah. So if you're using the Python SDK, how you invoke a call is by running voice.call. Yeah. If you're using something like Node, you do it this way. Yeah. And the options you pass in is the from and the to, call from and call to. You can also do this in Cal. It will basically have the same outcome. And then now when you invoke, basically we are here. We are doing this in reverse. Yeah, your application is invoking that call, and then it rings on the user side, and that is sent back to the AT cloud, and then your web application responds with the XML. Yeah. That's the next part. Yeah. Now this almost final segment is basically stitching the two, and I'd like, because of the interest of time, I'd like to make it a challenge to you. I want you to stitch SimSwap API or insights with airtime and SMS confirmation. So, and here you can even swap SMS for a call. So basically check if a SIM card has been swapped. If it has not been swapped, that means it has the original owner still. You send an airtime and maybe notify them, yeah. Else, just block that transaction from happening. And then I'll quickly jump into the AI bit, where let me scroll. Yeah, the bit where we'll basically look into Gemini. It's actually a very small part. So what you need here is the API key, Gemini API key, and the way to do this is to head over to studio.google.com. And that's the first requirement. And go to the left menu, click on Get API Key, and we select Create. Yeah, so let me switch accounts here to one that has billing. Just a minute. Let me share the screen again. Yeah. So you click on Create API Key and name it something. So I'll just call it something. Yeah. And then you create a project or import a project. So in my case, I'll just import. I'll select that one, import, and select the same project that I've imported and create key. And now you have a valid Gemini key that you can use. Where's something? Yeah, here's something. So click it. And then you can go ahead and update that in your notebook. Which is basic. I have this Gemini API variable, and then you can paste it there. And yeah, so now after that, okay, let me search. So what I'm doing here is basically importing that Gemini API key, and then initializing. I'm using Gemini 2.5, and here's a simple way to prompt. And yeah, here I'm just simply prompting how to make pizza. So first, let me run this, then run this. So if your key is valid, you're going, oh, I think there's something I haven't imported. Oh, okay, I know why. Let me compare it with the code that I have locally. Yeah, basically, let me just, actually no need for all of it. Let me just type it. It should run. It's taking too long to run. But basically, this basically use Gemini, and I'm so impatient. Or it's running slow.
Dagi, if you don't mind, I can proceed. It's running a bit slow there.
Perfect. Yes. So yeah, so that's how you simply do it. And yeah, the next part, allow me to switch over to Sylvia. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. I hope everything has, guys, energy. Oh, see, even my device knows things were going well. A bit of energy. Any questions, anything that isn't clear so far? Dagi has covered a lot of content and covered it very, very well. If we are good so far, hands up. No, not hands up, thumbs up. Yeah, I was thinking of thumbs up, as you can see. That we can proceed. Very nice, very nice, very nice. Okay. Great, we can proceed. Love the energy, but yeah, now just a quick, since time is really not on our side, but a quick overview of Gen AI. Now that we've seen how to use the Africa's Talking APIs, we've talked about webhooks, callbacks, and everything that pertains, and had a good introduction to Gen AI. Let's see exactly how we can be able to incorporate the two. Just a quote from the trainer. AI is not there to replace us, but to amplify what makes you human. Your curiosity, creativity, and capacity to solve. Think about how you use AI. If you're using AI to replace you for tasks, yes, I'm talking to you, you're not using it correctly. It's supposed to amplify and make you more efficient, not to replace you. Icons replace. So we'll look at Vertex and Gemini API. Just three use cases: text generation, translation, and sentiment analysis, just so that we can see the different capabilities. This is in no way all the things that they can do. They can do a lot more than that, but just those three as a use case to help us get started and see how that can be implemented with the 2G APIs. Right, so this is the first prompt that we were trying to get through, which I'm going to switch to the notebook, and we'll be able to do that right now. And then we'll be able to proceed. Key things such as the model name and API key, and then integration with Africa's docking. So let's get started with that first and pick up there, right from where Dagi left off. Yes, so introduction to Google Cloud Gen AI, trying to see if the font is legible, fairly legible. Yeah, all right. So for this, like Dagi has already showed, you will have to use get API keys from Google Cloud and AI Studio, both of them for different purposes. We'll use, starting with just basic authentication in the Google Cloud, because to use some of these products, you'll need to authenticate. So just run this to install everything that we'll need that is cloud related before we get right into the authentication itself. Some of these requirements, yeah, quite many. Can hide those, it's not very important. Okay, awesome, but just ensure we have everything that we need to run our authentication. So this will just help you not face any challenges in future when you're setting up your Google Cloud account. It's on console. Let me share the link in the chat to where you set that up, because we'll be using that quite a lot. console.googlecloud.com. Yes. So you create an account at console.googlecloud.com. So it's just the Google Cloud console or the landing page. And the first thing you'll need to do is to get a project. So you'll be working in a project. Let me switch to my account. This is logged in. So you'll be working in a project. You see that's where my project is visible. So it needs to be with a particular project. And on this sidebar, you'll get most of the services that you need. So we'll be able to get into this, a key one being APIs and services. Note that your Gemini API and your Google Cloud API key are different, and you'll need to use them both. For example, in Google Cloud, that's where we'll be accessing Vertex AI. So that's the API key here. When you're getting your API keys, also ensure that they are enabled. There's some you can enable, others that you have. The API keys are quite a number and many. So depending on what you're using, and you can always see the different APIs here and the requests you've made, and yeah, if they're enabled or not. But to set up, you always start with creating an API key in the credentials. Yeah, have one API key, and you can always create more over here. So you create another API key, and then now you take it to your Colab secrets. Okay, time. Right. So once you've authenticated, have we run Google authentication yet? It will give you, yeah, you need to authenticate in order to run this. It will give you a link. So when you go to that link, just select your Google account that is linked to your console, and then it will redirect you to a page with, yes, a page that requires you to say, okay, I can do this real quick. It redirects you to a page with this where you need to copy the verification code. Bad practice, never do that. Yeah, then you paste your verification code just so that you can confirm. Fantastic. So that means it's tied to your project, it's found your profile, and you can be able to proceed from there. Right. So you can also just do a quick check to confirm that yes, that is in fact the project, and it's capturing the credentials, and it's not a service account email. So that's just to help you confirm what you're doing. The project, everything that you do on Google Cloud is usually tied to your project. So the resources, the permissions, the billings are all tied to that project. That's why it needs to be identified. And then if your code calls any of this initialization, such as Vertex AI, which you're going to do, it is that sort of bridge. The authentication is that bridge that just makes it work, right? Yeah, that's what we were doing. Awesome. So now before running anything, just set up all authentication that is required. You need to get the project ID. So when you go back to that particular project, on Google Cloud, to your project, you'll always get the project ID. So that's what you'll be using for identification of that project. So you define the project ID, location, US Central 1, guys whose everything went down the other day. But anyway, we trust that today it will be okay. I believe we'll run this, but I can just run it again. So this is basically the authentication that we'll require for the next part. So once you have you've gone to Google AI Studio, as Dagi showed. Yeah, you've gone to Google AI Studio and you've picked your Gemini API key. Again, they're different. This is another place, Google AI Studio, right? And you get your API key here and you pick it over here. So they're both different and you put them all in your secrets. There is the Gemini API key and the Google Cloud API key. Both of them will be important. And then you feed that in. So what this particularly does is creates a function called just ask Gemini, gives it a prompt, and then it's able to ask and get a response. That's the overview or high level understanding. What it uses is your API key, and you define a model. I put a default model as 2.5 flash. I know don't think it charges anything for 2.5 flash, but always confirm with the documentation to see the models that are available and the models that are associated with accounts or don't require billing. Some of them would require you to activate your billing in order to access. Oh, the model is overloaded. Please try later. What if we try Pro? People are using this thing, yeah? And it's just a simple prompt. But yeah, that's the basic idea. But this is to get the gist. Wait, time. To get the gist, you basically just send a prompt and it gives you a response, which it is doing slowly again. But the same way like he had covered it, it's in this Ask Gemini function where it sends to that particular model the prompt. In the same way, this next example would be same. So you can ask it basically anything. I asked how to get started here, and the next one I asked how to make pizza, and I'd ask anything, right? Yeah, it gives a nice response. It's a nice journey to start. Part 1, Google AI Studio, and it gives you an overview basically of how to get started. If you do the same for the how to make pizza, it will also do it. I will skip it because of time, because it's a similar thing, but you can simply try it so that it doesn't take too much time. So another example would be calling using Vertex AI. Now this is where we use Vertex AI directly. Vertex AI is under Google Cloud. When we call that particular model and just give it a prompt and you run it, because we initialized our project ID and the location, project ID tied to your Google Cloud. Very important, just helping you debug any of these errors that you can quickly get at a glance. You send that prompt and you wait for a response. If you have, as you can see, I'm running on CPU. Okay, this is maybe not the best use case to use GPU, but if you have GPUs, I'm sure this is a lot faster on your side. But yeah, it can give you a whole, depending on how you prompt it. Well, this is also another prompting class. You can define what you want to get from the model. You can define temperature. You can give it examples. One shot, we'll look at a few of that forward. But you can define how to make this prompt work for you best. This was just very general, just to show that you can send a prompt and receive a response. So now, going to a bit more advanced prompts, we're going to look at two other examples. We've seen text generation, which just gives back output, but let's look at text translation and then sentiment analysis, right? So all of this, we're going to use Vertex AI. Like I've written here, note Google Translate API key and Gemini API key are different. So you get the Translate API key from the Google Cloud page. Yes. So what we do for text translation, the main difference being that in this particular case, to translate the text, what you feed, let me go to the end first, what you feed it is, you feed it with a message to translate, and then this is just for clear output, print this, and then translation. But feed it with any message, and it takes in that text, the target language. In this case, I wanted to translate from English to Swahili, and then source language will be such English, and the API key that I will call from the user data, right, and send it to the endpoint. It's very important to note that check the languages that are supported as well. Translation.googleapis.com. Just go there and look at the documentation. It's always very key. Look at the languages that are supported. My country people, yeah, some of our tribe dialects, or just in Africa generally, most of them would not be there, but at least use a language that is high resource language, so you can be able to find it on that catalog and test that translation. So the API key is defined from our secrets. We have the translate API key, and then it's able to translate, you feed it the key and the target language and gets the source language, and it's able to, doing an overview of what this does, for that particular endpoint, feeds those parameters, and then it's able to translate the data. Actually, it could have been smart to translate faster than I thought. But yeah, so you feed it whatever you want. Appointment has been successfully scheduled. You can even change this to, it is a beautiful day today. And then you run it again. Exactly. For the Swahili speakers, you can tell this is, yeah, this is accurate. So you just simply pull, get Vertex AI on that particular endpoint, and you're able to feed it with the content that you want translated and the target language, and it gives you output, right? And then moving on to sentiment analysis. This is zero-shot sentiment analysis. So that is, if you've never had those terms before, zero shot, one shot, few shot, or many shot, just basically means when you're prompting this particular model, you either don't give it an example, that's zero shot, or give it one example, that's one shot, or give it a few examples, that is few shot, of what you want the output to look like. This is a sentiment analysis. This is the sentiment analysis function. So maybe an example, if it was one shot, an example would be telling it the weather looks bad is a negative sentiment, yes, because you want it to predict some input and rank it as either positive or negative or neutral, if you can, yeah, positive, negative, neutral. You can define whatever you want it to be able to rank it as. So if you do one shot, you give it an example. So it's able to learn, and it's a process in machine learning where it's able to pick out each of those methods and yeah, pays attention to them and is able to weight based on the data that it has and what it's been trained on. It's able to categorize it as either good or bad based on what it was trained on, right? So that's the example that you can also do. This is what we did for the sentiment analysis part. So again, this one will just pick the Gemini API key. This one is using 2.5 Flash. Let's see if people have stopped overloading the model and can be able to use it. But yeah, it takes in input and it classifies the statement as either positive, negative, or neutral. If you're doing marketing, if you're doing surveys, this is very important so that you can be able to kind of categorize the feedback that you receive or something of that sort. And this is the example. I fed it like those three statements. The SMS service is down, we're losing many clients. New clinic is okay, just a bit slow. And I'm really impressed by how fast the support team responded. If you're able to do this off the top of your head, you'd say probably the first one, the service is down, that's bad, it should be negative. The new clinic workflow is okay, just a bit slow, that seems neither here nor there, so maybe somewhere in between, maybe neutral. And really impressed by how fast the support team responded is very good, so that would be a positive. When we run the function, let's see if people, okay, we have results. Oh, so people have stopped overloading. Yeah, Gemini 2.5 Flash. If it was you on the call, thanks for freeing up space for some of us. But yeah, it takes those three inputs and gives the text and predicts the sentiment as negative. Fantastic. Takes the next one, also predicts it as negative. All right, interesting. Takes the next one, predicts it as positive. Interesting. So based on how it was trained, it's finding more negative terms here. It basically uses a probability scheme to see whether it is more likely or less likely to be positive or negative, and then classifies it. That's the mind behind the machine learning model. So for this one, it probably took them, and so that the probability that it's negative is higher than the probability that it's positive. Still works. So why is this important? And why are there examples of how to use generative AI, Vertex, Gemini API in this particular module? I'm very glad you asked. You did ask, yeah, let's go with I'm glad you asked. So connecting the Google AI with Africa's talking is very simple. Given those three examples, you can already think off the top of your head of examples where you instantly run something or get some feedback from a model, and then you're able to feed it through a communication channel, right? You can run a translation task and then you have it feed into an SMS, or you can run a response, a question, a query, and get a response out of it and feed it back via voice, have it call the person and give the response. So something of that sort. That's the overview or the idea where we integrate 2G with AI technologies. And an example is, yeah, for example, if we have this, it just detects top up, right? So this detects a top up command and then it returns the amount, like just a string of the currency code and the amount together if the top up is detected of the amount of that top up. Otherwise, it doesn't return anything. Normal function that works okay. But if we were to create now integrating Vertex AI, we can create a fallback plan. That is, AI can give a response. It can be, this is where you integrate AI to create some sort of chatbot, and you can prompt it, give it the use case, tell it you're an SMS assistant for a telecom service, make it friendly and useful. These commands, again, if you look at how to properly prompt your AIs, you'll be able to get different examples. Fun fact, you can actually ask the model to tell you how to create a good prompt. It's pretty cool. And then you give it the message and then you dictate what it can do, right? So if you run that and then now you test it out. So for that function, have the user just ask what can you do? and it runs and runs and runs and runs and runs and runs and gives a response. So to respond and tell you what it does. But that's the sort of idea. Instead of when you're building applications, think about how you can automate some of these instant responses, how you can automate or give it a particular database and have it feed through that, have it trained on that, and then it can be able to give responses based off of that. That's the idea. It's sort of just, yeah, you can create your own like LLM that can sort of give responses. And if we were to, yeah, do that further into, there we go. If we were to do that further into having it now handle inbound SMSs, that is, it's able to check the top up. You send it the data on that particular number, the top up with that particular number, tells you if it does it successfully, and then if you have a query, it still calls the same model. Let's run this successfully. That's the function basically. It runs a secure top up and then has an AI generated reply to respond to queries. So that's what is covered in that particular function. Let's run this one at a time. Let me just comment this one at a time so that you can see it clearly. Yeah, so for this one, it's simulating a top up request. So it's topping up this amount. Yeah, to the number. Again, most of these details, good to have them in secret. And yeah, it gives a whole response where, oh, the slight error, it doesn't, phone number, currency code, okay, all right, but still it gets a response back. Interesting. I will look at this and see why it doesn't think successfully. But yeah, it does get the details. It's a top up and it's 50 shillings, right? So if we were to now run this instead, where you just ask the question and send a customer number as well on how to check your balance. Let's see if it will be able to query the model to give a response for this particular one. If AI will reply, which is the goal. Oh yeah, that person who was making the model here, they're back, they're using it again. Oh, fantastic, there we go. It's been able to successfully get a response. So yeah, it used AI reply, and yes, the reply was that to check your balance, you dial this. So that is for the prompt. How do I check my balance? Yeah, it was able to bring it back. So this is a particular use case, one of the use cases where you integrate an AI API, in this case, Gemini AI and Vertex AI APIs with Africa's Talking APIs, and you're able to have it do or simulate a particular scenario or have it run a particular function and give a response. Yeah, that's the idea. And going forward, even when you're building, try to integrate the two, yeah, in easy words. 9 minutes past the hour. Don't want to take more time, but yeah, there's a challenge there at the end. Yeah, to do the end-to-end test scenarios using SimSwap, and then just can go through and do the capstone project as well and see how that works. And let's have that conversation, the starter code, just to get you started. Yeah, because I can't leave it like that. But if you can run this or yeah, develop this, we can have that conversation on the Slack channel, share your results, share what you learn out of it. If you find interesting use cases as well or different ways to apply it, that those are the conversations we're looking forward to having there as well. And yeah, I believe, trying to move fast. Yeah, Gemini AI and the integration. There we go, Vertex AI. You've seen it, confirming the models are available. Documentation, guys, documentation. Especially some of these errors, you'll find the model just not being available or not even, you're not even writing it correctly. You can even define or make it specific. You can say latest, you can say version 002, whichever works, as long as it's in the documentation, it's okay. But yeah, that's basically it. Yes, we've covered everything here. And next, now we'll get a deeper dive into scalability and security in Africa's talking APIs, and more on generative AI, which the next module will now go back to Google generative AIs. There'll be live API and Firebase. So that's what we're going into next. So we'll be switching back and forth between Africa's talking and Google and giving you more details about that as we proceed. Thank you very much. Yeah, we got you. That was me. And yes, there is Dagi. Thank you very much. And I think I will head back to the, I should probably get another screen so that I can be seeing these things. Yeah, awesome. Back, link to this notebook. Yes, it is in the link tree, module 4 should be, or module 5. Yeah, it's one of the modules for Africa's Talking. The second Africa's Talking module will have this particular notebook. There are a few changes here and there. We'll just add them on, but nothing big. And you'll be able to run it from your side successfully end to end. Gemini has a smart robot brain that does the thinking and talking, but XAI is the science lab. There we go. Kelly, get this guy a soda. Yes, but that's basically the idea. Gemini is just the brain does the thinking and gives back a response. But XAI, which is important, I should have shared this. Yes, let's go here instead to Google Cloud, back to Google Cloud. This is your, sorry for the back and forth, your Google Cloud console dashboard. So this is where Vertex AI is, and I just want to show something very important. Apologies for taking a bit of your time. I want to show Model Garden. So if you're looking for something that's, yeah, a model that's already been done, or you want to see, it basically has almost everything from foundation model to models that are open on Hugging Face, task-specific solutions that have been created. So you can basically browse through and find a model that works best for your solution, and you can see, you can select, see what they do, different ones. So these are some of the resources that are available on Google Cloud. That's where you find Vertex AI, and there's a lot. You can explore this page. You can use the studio itself. You can create your agents, and there's also an agent garden where there are agents there as well. You can really explore and do a lot and get to build a lot on this platform, as well as get many things to incorporate into your building or into your development. So that's something important that I had forgotten to mention as we proceed. And yeah, I also wanted to shout out someone who was on the call, who was the first person to submit her. Yes, she's still on the call. Shout out to Patricia. Patricia Mugo, you're the first one to submit your completed badges. So round of applause for her. And yeah, that's if there is something that's going to be shared, you will be the very first one to get it. Yes, so just wanted to acknowledge that. Shout out to Patricia. And yeah, time. I have taken 14 minutes of your time. Highly, very, very much apologize for going over time, but that was it. I will hand over back to MK unless there are further questions or additions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. That was a great presentation and a lot of knowledge. So just to make sure that everyone has gotten the main link. So this is the main link. Let me just paste it on the chat so that you get it. For those who will be watching this, you might not see the chat, but ideally in the description, this link will be added. So check the description for the previous event that have been recorded, the videos and the modules. But also on the event page, which is community.africastalking.com, where you register and get a ticket. On the blab, all the modules are registered on that blab. Something else to note is that this is self-paced. These sessions are just to help you with any question that you may have, creating some more or less a class to learn. So make sure it doesn't matter if you join today or you join like a month ago, you can actually fast track and be where we are. Some of the code, which is live demo, is available on respective speakers' GitHub and is shared during the recording. So if you're joining later, you may need to watch minute by minute to get some of those links in their GitHub handle and ensure that you are able to follow and duplicate. Yeah, so the airtime activation and send ID KV1 is the standard waiting time. So that does not matter if this is going through this program or any other, it may be even an AT hackathon. So it's always standard. So as I was saying, you'll find all the links that you need at Linktree, AT Google program. This link also will be added on the upcoming blabs. So thank you so much for spending time with us and learning. Sorry for going over the stipulated time. But ensure that if you like this course, share with your friends and ensure that they're joining in and learning with us. We just want to start building for AI. Also, if you're a community leader and you want to organize an in-person event, let us know. Now we are open to organize this month, from this month. Also, we'll have an in-person, really good experience this month, so watch out for that. But still, the virtual sessions that have been happening will be happening on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as usual. And sometimes there are some sessions that are scheduled on Saturday. Those ones are not supposed to have an event. It's just to remind you to do your capstone or follow a lab and complete it. And in case you have a question, we have a Slack link, which is part of the Linktree URL that has been pinned on the chat. So join there. Also, our media gurus here and marketing are requesting you to subscribe on Africa Stalking. The playlist is there. Follow us on Twitter. Show some love. We are everywhere, in fact. We are on TikTok, Twitter, or X, as they call it. But most importantly, be on Slack so that you can get the question answered, but also to encourage you that post even the code or whatever error that you're getting so that whoever is answering, they have a big picture of what is happening and they can guide you. Yes, Sylvia.
Yes, thank you. Just to also note on that point on the YouTube channel, the recordings of these sessions are there. So yeah, I've also been getting quite a couple of questions on where the recordings are. They are on YouTube, so you can always follow along and see where maybe one not dropped off or you're not able to join along. And while you're there, just subscribe. Yeah, I mean, it's just one click, but still, if you need to see the recordings, you can always find them on the YouTube.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And you try to upload them also on the specific event. It's just like a day later. If you go to the past event, you also see, it's just YouTube link that is posted there. So you can watch it on the specific event or on YouTube, whichever works for you. Because the beauty of specific event is that you can refer to the blab to see what was shared, the mentor model, and be able to even click some of those links to follow through. Mine is just to wish you guys all the best for the rest of the day, and remind you to RSVP for Thursday's event once it's published, and share with your community, share with your friends, and work on it. If you want to host an in-person event, reach out to us, develop experience at africastalking.com, and we'll guide you accordingly. Without further ado, have yourself a great day.